every single time I find myself in a rut and my life satisfaction steeply declines, it's because I stop learning. Every single time I find myself in this place, it seems that my learning curve, like the amount I'm actually learning and growing as a person, precedes it like this. It's the exact same thing, but I stopped learning like 2 months earlier. And that's why I find myself, a few months along the line, actually feeling like I'm in a rut and I'm not doing shit. And the funniest thing is that learning isn't actually that hard. It's just modern literature that's stupidly outdated, that are still floating around like myths, that we hold on to so tightly that don't actually make any sense, which are slowing us down. We could learn 10 times faster if we actually understood what the essence of learning really is. And it's not none of this 10,000 hour bullshit. You can do it much faster than that. So that's what we're going to talk about. First of all, it's not hours, it's not time, it's very, very much deeper than that. So we have to forget this notion of, oh, you need to put in 10,000 hours and then you're going to suddenly become a master at the thing, because it couldn't be any further from the truth. Actually, it's the other way around. So the first thing that matters is reps and divided by time. So the less time we can do the reps in, or more specifically, the more reps we can do in a specific amount of time, the more outcome we will have. Because every single time we do something, we do this loop. You have to understand that if we really, really break this down to like what it is at a fundamental level, every single time we do something, we put out something into the world and we expect to get something back. And based on what we get back, what the market gives us as feedback, we could say, we adjust our attempt. So one good example for this would be darts. That's a loop which is very quick. So in the example of darts, learning how to throw a good dart would be the attempt is throwing the dart itself, and feedback would be, where does it land on the board? How can we improve it in the future based on where it landed on the board? What are our observations on how we can improve it? Every single time we do something, our brain has a bunch of neurons, like millions and millions of neurons, and the way you should like conceptualize of this is every time you do like an activity, like I'm moving my hand right now, hundreds and thousands of maybe even tens of thousands or millions of neurons are firing in my brain to move my hand in this way. Now, it's very easy for me to move my hand in this way, and I'm not picking which neurons to move, because I've moved my hand a lot in my lifetime. This is like very easy for me to do. But if I was to do something, a specific form of motion which I haven't done before, it's going to be quite hard. If we're looking at something as specific as shooting the football into the top bins when we're shooting a penalty, for example, in football or soccer for the Americans, I'm going to be quite bad at that because I'm not that good at football. Even if you watch Cristiano Ronaldo, you kind of know what to do because you haven't done that so many times. It's going to be kind of hard for you to do precisely. Well, one example of this would be if I am coming up to my flat, I have this keypad on my door, which it looks something like this. It's like it has numbers from like 1 to 9. It has 0 as well, and then it has like a OK button and a cancel button. So this is what it looks like. And I always just go from this. This is what it looks like. I go 5, 1, 0, 9. And if you notice there, I had to think about it. So my code is 510. Is it? Yeah, I think it is 5109. And no, it's 5107. This corresponds to a 7. So if you understand, I had to think about it. And that's exactly the reason why I tell you this. This isn't conscious. When we're driving, for example, we're taking a left turn. That isn't conscious. The first time we did it, it was super conscious. We were like, oh shit, I don't want to hit the side of the road. I want to make sure I go when it's my turn. But now, because you've done it so many times over and over again, it's automatic. Because at the beginning, you were like, oh shit, if I fire my neurons this way, I do this move. Is it correct? You do this. Then you get the feedback of, oh no, we're kind of hitting the side of the road, so we need to fire in this way. We need to fire it a bit differently. And then you get the feedback of, okay, now we can do it a bit quicker. And these kind of circuits in your brain are firing, which is making you act in a certain way. Now, in this example, it's so fucking fast for me that my subconscious mind knows that, oh, we're unlocking the door. I make that decision, and then bam, 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 bam. It fires this like circuit of neurons quickly. It knows exactly what to do because we've done it so many times. And it's even faster than my conscious recall because I don't even have my code as like something in my memory. I literally had to think of this. I got it wrong first time. And when I told my friends of this, and we were watching some fucking match here, and I was like, okay, this is the code, come up. I don't want to go down to get every single one of you. I literally wrote the wrong code then as well, because it's like, I have to think about it consciously, like, okay, I do that, then I have to like reverse engineer my hand motion, because my hand motion, the thing I'm doing, is so much more ingrained in my mind, because it's a thing of like, my neural circuitry knows exactly what to do. And it's the same thing with like a golf swing. You don't really think of how you're moving your muscles, what kind of muscle you move in which way. You've just done it so many times, and you got the feedback from the market that this is a very efficient way to do it. If you had a better way to do it, you'd do it that way. But the thing is, you've done it a bunch of times, and now you have the feedback, and it's affirmed and encoded in your mind that this is the way to do it. These are the neurons we have to fire, which lead us to take this exercise. So the reason this matters so much is because if we just waste a bunch of time without actually getting as much feedback and as many attempts as possible, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to waste a bunch of time. And this is why the 10,000 hours is bullshit. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because although this is like I understand that it's like an estimation and shit, but the thing is, if we do something like Facebook ads, we're actually launching Facebook ads, the thing is, this loop takes a lot of time. If we make like a set of ads, and then we wait for the feedback, this can take weeks for us to actually see some feedback of what it is. The dart example is like milliseconds, right? I throw the dart and I see where it lands on the board. But for some things, the loop is much bigger, so we can't really link it to times. Sure, we can link it to reps, that's a better thing, but the best thing is actually reps divided by time. So how many times can we like spam this loop and make sure we make an attempt and get feedback, and then make a better attempt and get better feedback, and do this as many times as possible in the lowest amount of time. This is the essence of it, because every single time you make an attempt, you get feedback, and then you do the good thing. Now, some of you smart motherfuckers might be talking about this right now. Visualization. How does visualization slot into these kind of things? Because I've heard that visualization is almost as good or as good as doing the reps itself. Now, this is because there was a huge study conducted by Chicago's University. Dr. Blaslotto, I think, is linked to it. Where basically there were three groups. The first group was basically doing nothing, so they were just literally like regular people. They had a 0% increase in the amount of basketball shots they hit. The second group were literally just visualizing, like sitting steadily, and they were visualizing like throwing the basketball. And they had a 23% increase in the amount of shots that they hit. And the people who actually practiced and they attempted had a 25% increase. So this basically led us to the conclusion that visualization is almost as impressive and as useful in practicing than actually doing the practice and actually getting attempts. This isn't entirely the case, though. So although supplementation, visualization is a good form of supplementation, it isn't entirely the same thing. As we can see, there is a difference, but this is only like this close in very, very specific examples. So, for example, if we go back to me shooting the soccer ball, and I want to score a penalty, I probably won't even hit the goal. And the reason for that is because I haven't really done it before. I haven't really done it many times. So whenever I try to do it, I don't have any feedback right now. So my brain would be like guessing, like, do I move my leg like this or do I do that? When someone tells me to throw a punch, I just do this. And it's like, if a boxer watches me, they'd be like, it's stupid form. Like, you should, I don't know, hold your rotator cuff like this, clench your fist in this way and not this way. They know exactly what to do because they've done it time and time again. Every single time they threw a punch and they maybe slightly hurt themselves, or they noticed that the punch wasn't that hard, they got feedback. And then they threw another one and they got feedback again. And through that feedback, the 637th punch they threw was much better because they could correct themselves. But the thing is, if you're visualizing what to do, you're not getting any feedback. So if you're visualizing, you're only doing this part. You're only doing one half of it. And only this part of it is also like a bit worse because not all of your neurons are going to be activated in the same way. So what we're doing essentially is we're kind of trying to, like, in our own mind, recreate the neuron activation what we would usually have when we hoop. So if you've hooped a bunch of times, you've like shot the basketball a bunch of times, and you think about doing it, the same amount of neurons should activate pretty much. It won't be exactly the same, but the same amount of neuron activation should kind of happen in your brain. You will kind of think, or you're like, if we were to scan your brain, the same area of it would light up if you actually did a shot with the basketball. But the thing is, this only works when you already have a preconceived notion of what it is. As I said, if I was to do golf or something I haven't done yet, my brain would be guessing. And just guessing doesn't lead me any closer to the goal. The reason this worked for these people is because they have played basketball before. So visualization was a good form of encoding the kind of thing that they have to do. So the brain was actually reaffirming the correct motion because they have attempted it a bunch of times, and they were almost attempting it again and again and again. Now, it wasn't that good because they still weren't getting feedback. Even if your form is like 90% of the way there, it still isn't perfect, and you could get feedback. So if you have the opportunity, you should always practice by actually doing the thing. However, if you don't, maybe sitting around and visualizing and actually thinking about the thing and actually like mentally doing the work can help. So supplementation is useful, especially visual supplementation, but don't fucking fool yourself into telling yourself that, oh, I'm going to go golfing with my friends and I'm going to visualize hitting the shot. Maybe it will put you in a better mood. Maybe it will, like, I don't know, do some spiritual shit to you, but actually it won't help your brain have a better swing if you haven't done the golf swing before. So it doesn't entirely work like that. So this is reps under time. So you actually need to maximize the most amount of reps to spam this loop of attempt and feedback as much as possible, because if you don't, your brain just won't learn that fast. Like, the only way you learn is basically error. And the way you keep going, by the way, once you do fail, is very important, because a lot of people actually know this. Like, you have probably quite a solid conception of, okay, I should attempt and I should get feedback and I should fail as much as possible. Cool. But you're scared of failure. You're still not doing it. And one way to actually make sure that you fail more is never beat yourself up. And this might sound a bit cliche, but it's really, really true. So, why I say never beat yourself up is because of the Super Mario effect. And what the Super Mario effect says is basically the following. There are two groups, one of which was told you lose 5 points every time they failed. It was like a silly kind of logical analytical game where they had labyrinth and they had to go through it. One of the groups was told whenever they failed, you lose 5 points, try again. And the second group was told, please try again, just that, please try again. And what ended up happening was, one of them had a significant better success rate and actually finishing the game than the other one. Can you guess which one it was? The minus 5 points, you might think that they were incentivized to do it. There was a point system and they might have been gamified in doing it, but that was actually not the case. Because in this case, they had a sense of perceived loss. They were actually like, oh shit, I'm losing something by doing this. Yeah, fuck this. I don't want to get like a low score. And in this one, they were just like, you lost, but please try again. And they actually achieved like a significantly better score. Like, if you understand this is like 16% better, which is a very, very significant increase. So if you're actually just not mean to yourself, straight up, you will do more reps. If you throw the punch and you link it to something positive, like you're like, okay, I'm getting better, I'm going to be this person, you visualize something in your head and you're linking it to the positive, you will be more likely to get it than you link it to the negative. Now, sure, negative visualization still has a place. You can still do it if you want to, but it won't really get you anywhere in the long term. Because the thing is, it's much better to link the outcome of, like the positive outcome of the thing to doing the thing itself. So when you're attempting, if you can just keep the desired outcome, or at least the thing that you're doing it for in your brain, it will be much, much, much more likely to stick. Because we all realistically know this. We all know that, oh yeah, we should attempt it a lot. Oh yeah, feedback is good. Oh yeah, we need to fail in order to become good. But yet we still don't. We still quit. And this is the exact reason, is because we're fucking mean to ourselves. And every single time we don't get the desired outcome, we lose. And the desired outcome should be improving. I have a video about this, by the way, which is like how to get rid of the fear of failure once and for all. And you can check it out if you want. It should be popping up as a card screen right now. But realistically, this is all you need to do. You need to just fucking keep going and make sure you're getting better at the thing every single time. And the way you do that is actually by being intentional, which is the next part of the equation. Intention is incredibly important because the equation goes as follows. Reps divided by time times intention. I have a story to actually drill this point in, which was League of Legends. I used to play League of Legends quite a lot, and I used to be quite a degenerate gamer, if I must say so. And what I ended up doing was, I played for like maybe 3 years, and I literally experienced the same amount of growth in 1 month than I did in the rest of the 3 years. Like, the 2 periods of time were the same amount of growth. I was like hard stuck at like, I started off like as a silver gold player, and I was hard stuck at like platinum emerald level. And I went from emerald like 2 or 1 to master in a month. And if you've played the game before, you know that that's like quite a big gap. And the reason for that was literally just because of intention. When I played the game, I was literally like 0.01 intention. That's like 1% intentional. Literally just playing the game, having fun. If I lost, I blame my teammates and I went on to the next one and I played with my friends. We didn't really review the game afterwards. We weren't fucking tryharding and shit. So we just kind of played for the fun of it. And we weren't really too critical of ourselves when we did it. And this is fine. You know, especially if it's a game, you don't have to be super analytical. That's not what I'm saying. But if you want to get better at something, intention is a must. Intention is basically analyzing where you went wrong. Just being intentional about learning. How hard can I punch? What is the best strength I can put into a punch? Because if I punch too strong, I might gas out too early. If I don't punch hard enough, the person might not get like as hurt as I want them to. Or if you're learning, in any instance, basically, you just have to really pay attention to what you're doing and how you can focus on it and how you can improve. Because once I started doing this, the League of Legends now was actually critical of every single step I took. I started improving so much faster. I started watching people who were much better than me, and I started looking, how can I implement the things they do into my gameplay? How can I pick the better champion? I was literally looking at so many factors, and I went up to like 80% intention, which increased my growth by so much. And I started getting incredibly better just because of this one thing, of actually paying attention to what the fuck I was doing. Because you can keep spamming the thing, by the way, sure, but if you're not actually paying attention to the feedback that you're getting, because you are getting feedback, you're just not paying attention to it. You won't be anything if you don't do this, because I was getting the feedback, I was dying in the game and I was like, oh shit, I should have done this. But I didn't really pay attention to it. I was either not even like understanding that, oh shit, I died because of this, or I was, and then I just discarded it the next minute. And afterwards, I started looking at my games back and I was like, I died this way. What if I actually did that thing? I went that way, or I bought this item, or I did something differently, and I was much better. I have a friend who's, to this day, he's gold. He has more games than me, I swear to God. And he's still in the same rank as he did when he got his initial placements. He hasn't improved a fucking bit since. And it's exactly because of this. He spams the reps, he keeps doing the things, he never gets better. He never has any intention. Imagine a boxer who just, all he does in training is he rolls up to training, he gets changed, and he does the same punch over and over again. He's not even looking at his hand. He's not even tapped into his body. He's not feeling how it feels. He gets injured. He does the same shit throw. He's doing it with the same strength, and he's not even paying attention, You should be paying attention to how are you holding your muscle? How hard are you clenching your wrist? How is your rotator cuff moving? All of these kind of things that, especially like coaches can help you with. But if you just pay attention to every single punch, how am I doing this thing? Okay, I'm doing it kind of nice now. This feels good. I'm not getting injured. I'm punching hard. Okay, let's change another thing. Okay, let's actually look at how we're standing. These kind of things, you will get much better. Same thing with darts. How hard are we throwing it? How are we aiming? Same thing with pretty much anything. It can be applied to Facebook ads. It can be applied to learning and studying. What kind of methods are you using? Anything, basically. The more intention you have, the more you set the intention of, okay, this session I'm going to pay attention to this, and I'm going to keep doing the reps. I'm going to keep going as deep as I possibly can, and I'm going to get better at this thing because I'm paying fucking attention to the feedback that I'm getting. Because, you can spam the attempt as much as you want, but if you don't pay attention to the feedback you're getting and you're not adapting your approach of the next attempt of what you're going to do, you're not going to get any better. If you do the same attempt, you're going to get the same feedback, and if you're not listening to the feedback, you're going to do the same attempt, and it's not going to lead anywhere. That's the intention part done. And the next thing, the final thing, is actually rest. Now, rest can be analyzed in two different scopes, in the micro and in the macro. What micro rest basically means is literally even right after the learning session or the training session or whatever, you have to decompress as soon as possible. Even Chris Baum says this, by the way, and this isn't too popular in the bodybuilding space. But even the greatest bodybuilder, debatably of all time, says this. You need to make sure your nervous system is calm after a weightlifting session as soon as possible. Every single time you do a certain movement, again, your neurons get encoded in your brain. The same set of neurons get wired. And as the saying goes, neurons that wire together, fire together. So the sooner you can get into a state of calm, because your brain only encodes memory once you're in a calm state. When you're in a fight or flight state, heart's beating fast, you're in the thing and you're learning and you're doing the thing and you're training, you're not going to get mental encoding. But once you stop and once you wind down, your brain will start encoding these kind of things and your form will be so much better. And even if we just go back to the bodybuilding example, your physiology starts to repair when you're in a state of calm. That's why people say that on your rest day, the best thing to do is to chill out, is to watch Netflix, is to do your favorite activity, which not only is your body at peace, at a state of not moving, you're mentally relaxed as well, because that is the most important thing here. And even if you look at ancient practice like yoga, the yogis realized that shavasana is a must at the end of every single session. Because shavasana is kind of the act of doing nothing and just observing and just having these few minutes at the end of the session to let your mind drift, to let your mind enter into a state of calm, to let your nervous system unwind and actually enter the state of calm so your memory can start encoding, your body can start resting. And studies show that even just 1 minute of calm at the end of a learning session, whether it's training, whether it's actually mental revising, you can literally get immense benefits if you just wait for 1 minute. Now, the ideal time, if you want to actually maximize it and make sure that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck, is like 5 to 10 minutes. But if you don't want to be like a weirdo in the gym who's just laying on the floor in the fucking starfish position for 10 minutes after a workout, just do 1 minute. Just calm down a bit. Make sure your heart rate drops by 10 BPM. Make sure that you get into a state of calm as soon as possible, because your mind will encode faster and your body will heal faster. So whether or not we're talking about training or just academic performance, you need to rest right after your workout or your mental workout, so to speak. And in the macro, you've probably heard it 1,000 times, that sleep is incredibly important. Most especially REM sleep, because REM sleep is when all of this brain reinforcement happens. This is when most of your memories are reinforced. This is when your learning happens and your kind of knowledge is stored, although that sounds a bit arbitrary. That is kind of what happens, essentially, without going too deep into it. And this is when your body repairs also, if we want to go back to the bodybuilding example. So all of your learning essentially gets magnified in the lens of how much REM sleep you're getting. Especially if you're young, you should be getting 2 to 3 hours. But even if you're older, you should be getting at least 1.5 hours. If you don't get enough REM sleep, you're literally going to die. If you don't get any REM sleep for like a week, you're going to pass away. And you don't have to be too worried, because your body is going to like shut you down. But if you were to I read like a study of this. If you were to like mechanically, like manually keep yourself awake, you would pass away because of lack of REM sleep. This is how important this is to our bodies. And if you can just maximize this and deep sleep, you will learn much faster, because people don't really understand this. That this is why people, especially like teachers and shit, say that having good sleep before an exam is much more important than actually learning as much as you possibly can and sleep depriving yourself, not just because of the long-term health detriments that sleep deprivation can give us, but also the fact that these memories, these kind of learnings, won't be encoded. Even if you do get a slightly better score at the exam, which you probably won't, to be honest, you won't fucking remember the shit that you learned anyway, because you're not putting in the work of resting. So the whole equation goes as follows. I'm going to write it down one more time so you can actually understand. You want to do as many reps as possible in the shortest amount of time as possible. So if you set it out a training session, repeat this attempt to feedback loop as much as possible. You want to make an attempt, you want to get feedback, and you want to times it by intention. The way you do this is to pay attention to one thing and be intentional about it and be like, how can I improve this? You will get feedback after you do the attempt. You throw the punch, you learn the thing, or you, throw the dart, or you publish the ad, or anything, you will get feedback from the market, depending if they want it or not. You hurt yourself, you learn the thing, etc., etc. You will get feedback, and it's up to you to actually apply it in your next attempt and to make your next attempt that much better based on the feedback that you received. And you can only do this with intention. And once we're done with the session of learning, it's the best thing to do, instead of mulling over it and extending the time horizon but not spamming reps anymore and just being stuck in this kind of hustle culture mentality of having to work all day and doing all of this shit, just stop it. Just don't do too much and actually take a bit of rest. Because after you learn, the most important thing is to leave yourself time to rest in the macro, and in the micro. Just actually have a bit of time to lower your heart rate, to de-wind, to make sure the mental encoding starts. And once it's nighttime, go to sleep. Get as much REM sleep as possible. And this is the way you will outcompete everyone. You will learn 10 times faster than everyone.